Genesis 1:9. And God said, let the water under the sky be gathered to one place, and let the dry ground appear. And it was so. In here, we notice God changed the method. He's not separate anymore. He gathered. He put them together. And he created a new concept. It's called dry ground. Actually, the ground may be under the water, or the ground was there, or the ground was part of a dark matter. Maybe. But right now, after he separated the water, the ground come out. The soil come out. And at this moment, the permanent separation, another separation, water and the soil, dry ground, they separated. Water not cover dry ground, and water not cover ground anymore, and ground is different than water. So that's another method of separation. God separates things. It's kind of like debugging. Kind of like when you write a program, the first day you write a program, oh, pretty good. Then the second time you run it, it's okay, but still something not achieve what I want, right? Because it's nothing in there the second day. So the third day, I'm trying to change my method, change some parts to make it a little different. And at the beginning, I separate water. Now I'm kind of gather these parts of water together, and I have a new function or a new socket or something in there to make a difference. And at this moment, it was so. It was so means like it's still stable. It's stable. Why it's stable? Because everything actually is within the abyss, within the deep. It's a huge abyss, and everything is within the abyss, water, darkness, dark matter. So God work on the dark matter, work on the water, but never really work on the abyss. The abyss still right there. Abyss tolerate everything. Just do it. I don't care. You do it. So I keep asking myself, what made a God or gods? All the heavens gathered around this place, gathered around the abyss, and why they want to do that? And seemingly, they kind of like there is something attract to them, because the dark matter prevents, waters prevents them. There is something in the abyss, in the deep. They have to got it. So that's what I think. So that's the reason they spend so much energy, so much effort to separate the dark matter, to separate waters, and to make adjustment, whether it is good, whether it is not good. Seemingly it's not reach the goal they wanted. So what's the big secret dwelling or hidden in the dark abyss? Genesis 1:10. God called the dry ground land, and the gathered waters he called the seas. And God saw that it was good. So at this moment, God believed he made a qualitative change. So he think it is good. Also, when God says something, actually it's announced. It's announced to heavens. So you have to get a consensus. But right here, God called the dry ground land, and the waters called seas. it's kind of like a comments. You write a comment after every line of a script. So it's, you can call it land or you can call it tree. Doesn't matter. It just, I talked at the very far beginning, Buddha said, you call it a one. Actually, it's not one, but you just call it one. Right here, I notice it's interesting. When he talk about seas, it's a plural. Again, it's not talking about like a big water. Yeah, it is big water, but we have a lot of seas. So the land separate the sea, separate all seas, and every sea is different. So it brings back to the beginning, heavens. The sea is different. So what about the heaven? All those heavens are different also, right? So that's what at this moment, I saw about. So in here, we notice separation, gathering, new concept generates. At the beginning, after separate, the darkness, it made the lights, a new concept. Then, right now, when God just simply separate the water, it's not working well. So it needs a buffer zone. I rather call it a buffer zone. The buffer zone is what? The land. We call it a dry ground. Is the dry ground really dry? No, because there is a water in the ground, right? And I highly doubt that there is total 100% dry land. So the method is, first you separate things. But when you separate, you're not really separate. You generate some kind of new concept, new element, bring some new element into it, make the complexity. So they're never able to get together. Same like water. The water, you separate, make a fresh water, salt water. And after you add the sky, add the expanse, you put the nitrogen, put the hydrogen, everything, you separate it. And the fresh water never able to meet the salt water. Even you drop the raindrop to the sea and the evaporation, whatever, it's still like a fresh water and the salt water. Same thing. When you have the land, the dry ground, the land created, it adds another barrier to prevent the water became waters, or the waters became one water. That's the method. So if you deal it in the real life, same thing. You separate, you add a little element into it. Little element, make a little bit of change, penetration, and it just total different. Never able to back to the beginning. Genesis 1:11. Then God said, let the land produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and the trees on the land that bear fruit with seed in it, according to their various kinds. And it was so. In here, why tree needs seeds, needs fruit? They need to repopulate. So what's the point to do so? Because tree grow on the land, right? And you need to absorb things from the land. And after tree die, it returns to the land. Then it grows again. But is the new tree same like the old tree? No. So in here, I notice it's kind of like a God, the working from macro level, huge darkness, separate light, separate water, from the macro level, start to change it to micro level, start to change it to the detail. It's just like a create individual specified method try to obtain or gain or absorb something from the land, then will not make so much kind of reaction against the land. It just make the land little bit take off, give you back, take off, give you back, but made a little different. The environment make a little change. And when I talk about specify is, think about it. Can a lily live in Southern Asia, live in Russia naturally? No, can't. Can a pine tree live in Sahara? No, can't. So the land is different, the environment different, and the veggie, all the trees are different. And they specify all the way to micro level. They make individual change, irreversible individual change. So by the end, it say it was so. It made it happen. And the land allowed this happen. The object, the abyss, or the darkness, God wants to do so, allow this happen. Because what? They don't give a damn. So there is no animal yet. Why the tree needs fruit? Fruit for who? It gotta be someone to eat it, right? And the sea, you have this for repopulation, but the fruit with the seed, it must to against something or to lose something to bring the seed to somewhere. That's the point. Also, another thing is when you do project, you always start with some familiar terms or familiar method. Kind of like at the beginning, you do the light separation to make it to the dry land, and then you plant some tree or put some kind of you familiar terms into it at the beginning. It's always like this. And I believe even high civilization, even like a god, they will do the same thing because this is the easiest way. This is the decision after Spirit of God hovering above the water. At the very far beginning, they cross the water, they cruise. Basically, they cruise. They're thinking, they observe, they make a plan. And based on this plan, they applied first stage. If we can make change, no, then we go to second stage. So this is a third stage from the macro to micro, and everybody agreed. The battle started. Waters. They try to regain the land. Because what? Because those lands was covered by the waters in the dark abyss. So the sovereignty belonged to what? Belonged to the dark abyss, belonged to the water. The water's duty is to cover the land. Land not supposed to separate with the water. Even right now, God made a little difference, like a land, the soil has some kind of water, call it dry land, but still separate. So water wants the soil, want the land back to its original status. The battle continue million years. It's just like right now, like you see the continent is floating and sink, rise. That's all the battles. And why God wanna like trees, trees, and this is a mature method for them, mature method to absorb either the energy, either mana, I don't know, to change the property of the land, to make the land eventually different from its original status which covered by the waters, which within the dark abyss. So the big secret is the dark abyss. The dark abyss always wants its original status, which is dark matter cover everything, and the waters cover everything. That's the original state. God and the heavens, they are the alien. They are the intruder. They try to change it. That's the battle between them. Genesis 1:12. The land produced the vegetation, plants bearing seed according to their kinds, and the trees bearing fruit with seed in it according to their kinds. And God saw that was good. The new concept comes, produce. So can God work on something nothing? No. His word work on the dark matter. There is dark matter. He separated the waters. There's water. So when he wants tree, grass, and each tree in the micro level, they have the different DNA and the various locations, the different trees meets different requirements. But you still need a base, the ground to produce such things. So God, he has the capability to order something and to produce or to grow, to extract some kind of new kinds with small, complete system, like a tree, like a grass. Each tree, it has a what? It has a root, it has a stem, it has leaf, everything, and it's a complete system. It's a very complicated system. God has the capability. And all those things, are they brand new? No, they are not new, because when you have the concept at the very far beginning, let's have a tree with seed, let's have a tree with a fruit. All those have the blueprint, or they have samples, or they had those kind of experience before. So God said, okay, let's do it. Let's copy what we did before. And the land did produce, and it's easy. And you know what? God said it's good. And again, we notice every time when he did something to the water, to separate the water, to extract the water, and he said it's good. It's interesting. Just he hates water. He has something to do with the water, so he always said, okay, it's good. And seemingly those trees, those kind of modification works to make the land stand against the water and longer, and to make sure the water gets separates even more, because all the water go to different trees, different grass, and make it more complicated. So it's a big secret in the water. Yeah, in the old Zen story, Buddha asked people, can you make a song from one hand? So the guy tried to figure out how to make a song from one hand. Actually, it's just like a life versus death, good versus evil, and like all the concepts. You have to have two. You have to have the opposite concept to stand. And when God talk about something is good, it is not necessarily good versus evil because the dark abyss is evil. That good just emotionally his expression about it's on the track. It's within the plan, because at the beginning they're hovering, they're cruising, they're planning at the beginning. So that's it's still on the track. It's called good. So at the one thought, really at a high level, actually there is nothing really we think is good or evil or some justice or whatever. It's just for human use. At the very high level, I believe it's the survive civilization, like a extension. That's the most important. That's the priority. Prioritize those things first. Yeah. Also, that's what I have a thought at this moment. I feel like a God, when the day 1, day 2, day 3, these kind of accumulate things, it's actually they are testing. They are like inductively. I rather say it inductively bring all kinds of method, or bring the method they believe is correct. At the beginning, they planned as they planned it. Try to convert, try to change the abyss, change the environment. For what reason, I don't know yet. But I have a little bit like a hint at this moment. I think something to do with our soul.